In the earlier lesson, we built out the ability to create an array, a list of different commands that we want to run, and then we have an option to execute all of the commands, moving the element around the page. So we also want to add in an option this time in order to remove out some of those commands. So if we set up a bunch of them, and as we hover over them, we've got the mouse effects, we want to be able to click on them and remove them from the list. So removing them from the array as well as removing them from the visible area. So let's add that in, and we're going to do that where we added in the event listeners for the mouse objects onto the span as we're creating it. This is also a good place to add in the ability to handle clicks on that element. And then if that element does get clicked, then what we want to do is we want to remove that element out of the list. So taking our array, we want to find where that current item is located within the fun list array. So we can use a method index of, which will return the first index value of where the element is located in the array, or it will return a -1 if the item is not present in the array. So we're looking for this as we're still looking at the main element within the array, and we're pushing it in, so we also have an option to remove it out. So when it gets clicked, we're going to remove it out of that fun list array. And that's why fun list is global, because that way we can access it at any point. Next thing that we want to do is we want to splice that out. So let's take that out and we'll call it temp remove. And from fun list, so now that we've located that element, we've got an index value, we can splice it, and taking it out, we can splice it at position of where the current index is and removing out one element. So the way that splice works is that we need to specify what index value we want to remove out from the array and how many items we want to remove out from the array. And in this case, we found the index value using index of, and we'll console log those values out so that we can see. So we can see the current value, and then we'll do that one after. So now when I go in here, and if I click on these, you can see that we're returning back the index value of where it's located in the array. And when you list out the array, you can see that as well. I'll make this bigger. So when you list out the fun list array, you can see that those are the right spans accordingly. So this is the first one that we clicked, and then this is the next one that we clicked. So we are getting back those index values, and now if we apply splice, that's going to select that element from that index position and return that element back to us. So if we output what we're returning for the temporary remove, and we need to add some in, I'll clear this out, and when we click it, you see that we're getting the index value. So I click the second item, so that's within the array because those start at a 0 index value. So that's 0, that's 1, so it's returning back the index value. And then we also see that we removed it out with the splice. So we've got that span that we've selected, and we're removing it out of the array. So now if I list out fun list, you can see that I've removed out that particular element. So that one's gone out of the array. So we removed it from the array, and we also need to remove it from our parent, and that's the my function list. So just as we're adding them, we can also remove out elements. So we can use remove child from the list, and we can specify that it's this object that we're removing. So now we're removing it from the array as well as we're removing it from the list, visible list. So now we can try that out where we can set up a bunch of commands. We can remove some of them and then press enter and see it get executed. And we only are running the commands that were left within the array, and the array is actually in sync with what we've got in our current visible area in the my function list element on the page. So go ahead and add in this functionality, and coming up next we'll do a quick code run through as well as any debugging and testing of the application that we want to still perform. Though that's still all yet to come.